I was arranging white roses in the crystal vase when my brother David walked through the door, his arm around Linda's shoulders. They looked perfect together, the way they always had. 35 years of marriage, and they still held hands like newlyweds. "Patricia!" Linda beamed, crossing my living room to embrace me. "Everything looks beautiful. You didn't have to go through all this trouble." "Nonsense," I said, smoothing down my navy dress. "It's not every day you celebrate 35 years. That's quite an accomplishment." David set down a bottle of champagne on my dining table, the expensive kind he always brought to family gatherings. At 60, he still had that confident smile that had charmed everyone since we were kids. Successful car dealership, beautiful home in Scottsdale, respected in the community. My little brother had done well for himself. "Where's Richard?" David asked, looking around for my husband. "Picking up Mom from Sunrise Senior Living. They should be here any minute." The doorbell rang again. My daughter Claire arrived with her husband and 2 kids, then my son Thomas with his girlfriend. Soon my modest Tempe living room was filled with the warm chaos of family, everyone congratulating David and Linda, admiring the anniversary cake I'd ordered from their favorite bakery. I was in the kitchen, pulling champagne flutes from the cabinet, when I heard David's phone buzz on the counter. He'd left it there while helping Thomas set up folding chairs in the dining room. The screen lit up with a message preview. I wasn't trying to snoop. I really wasn't. But the name caught my eye because it wasn't one I recognized. Emma. "The girls are asking when Daddy's coming home. Lily has a soccer game tomorrow at 3. You promised you'd be there." My hands froze on the champagne flute. "The girls? Lily?" I looked at the phone again, my heart suddenly pounding in a way that felt wrong, heavy. I picked it up, my fingers trembling slightly. The lock screen showed more. "Miss you. Can't wait for you to get back from your business trip." Business trip. But David had told us he was driving down from Scottsdale for the anniversary dinner. No mention of any business trip. "Patricia? You okay?" Linda appeared in the kitchen doorway, and I nearly dropped the phone. I set it down quickly, forcing a smile. "Just fine." Thought I heard it ring. Must have been mine. But I wasn't fine. I couldn't stop looking at that phone, lying innocently on my granite counter. Who was Emma? Who was Lily? The evening progressed like a dream where everything looks normal but feels wrong. We toasted to David and Linda's marriage. Mom, now 84 and sharp as ever despite her arthritis, gave a touching speech about watching them fall in love at a church picnic in 1989. Linda cried happy tears. David kissed her temple, and everyone applauded. I smiled and clapped along, but inside, my mind was racing. The girls, plural, a soccer game. When Daddy's coming home, as if he lived somewhere else. But David lived in Scottsdale with Linda. He'd lived there for 20 years, in the house with the swimming pool and the mountain views. I watched him across the room, laughing at something Thomas said, his arm still around Linda's waist. Could I be wrong? Maybe Emma was a colleague with kids, asking him to attend a company family event. But that text message, the way it was worded, it felt intimate, personal. Earth to Aunt Patricia. Claire's voice broke through my thoughts. "You're staring at Uncle David like he grew a second head." I laughed, but it sounded forced even to my own ears. Just thinking how fast time flies. Seems like yesterday they were getting married. And here we are celebrating 35 years. After the cake was served and Mom started getting tired, Richard drove her back to Sunrise. The party began winding down. David and Linda were staying at a hotel nearby, planning to drive back to Scottsdale in the morning. They stood by my front door, saying their goodbyes, Linda hugging everyone twice. "Thank you for this," Linda whispered in my ear. "You've always been like a sister to me." The words felt like a knife. I hugged her back, breathing in her familiar perfume, the same one she'd worn since the 90s. What would happen to her if what I suspected was true? After everyone left, Richard and I cleaned up in silence. He was loading the dishwasher when I finally spoke. "Richard, if you found out something terrible about someone you love, something that would destroy other people you love, would you say anything?" He looked up, his gray eyebrows furrowing. "That's oddly specific. What's going on?" I told him about the text. He set down the plate he was holding. "Could be innocent," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Could be a misunderstanding." "Could be," I agreed. But I didn't believe it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Linda's face, the joy in her eyes when she looked at David. 35 years. She'd stood by him when he was starting out, working 2 jobs to help him buy his first car lot. She'd raised their 2 sons, hosted countless family dinners, been the rock of our family gatherings. I thought about those texts. The girls. Daddy's coming home. Soccer game. At 2 in the morning, I got out of bed and did something I'm not proud of. I searched Facebook for Emma and my brother's name. Arizona was a big state, but I started with Scottsdale, then expanded outward. I found her on my 3rd search. Emma Martinez, living in Flagstaff. Her profile picture showed a pretty woman in her early 40s with 2 young girls, maybe 8 and 10 years old. The older one had David's distinctive nose, his same slightly crooked smile. My stomach turned. I kept scrolling. There were pictures of the girls at dance recitals, at the Grand Canyon, at birthday parties. And there, in the background of a photo from 6 months ago, barely visible but unmistakable, was my brother. He was wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses, but I'd know that posture anywhere, the way he stood with his weight shifted to his left leg because of an old football injury. I dug deeper, my hands shaking as I clicked through photos. Emma's Facebook said she was in a relationship but didn't tag anyone. Smart. Her privacy settings were tight, but what I could see told a story. A comment from someone, "Tell David congrats on Lily's game." A photo caption from last year, "Beach day with my favorite people," showing the 2 girls building sandcastles with a man whose face was conveniently cut off, but whose wedding ring, different from the one Linda had given David, glinted in the sun. Flagstaff was 2.5 hours from Scottsdale, an easy drive. David was always taking business trips to look at inventory, meet with wholesalers, attend dealer conferences. Linda had mentioned it at dinner. He works so hard, always on the road. I closed my laptop and sat in the dark of my living room. My brother, who I'd looked up to my entire life, who'd taught me to ride a bike and walked me down the aisle when Dad was too sick, who gave the best advice and never forgot a birthday, was living a lie. 2 lives. 2 families. How long had this been going on? Those girls looked about 8 and 10. A decade, maybe? While Linda planned anniversary trips and family reunions, while she bragged to her friends about her devoted husband, David was tucking 2 other children into bed 150 miles away. The next morning, I called in sick to my volunteer shift at the library. I needed to know for sure before I did anything. I drove to Flagstaff, telling Richard I was going shopping in Sedona. The lie tasted bitter in my mouth. I found Emma's house easily enough from the address listed in a public records search. It was a modest ranch-style home in a quiet neighborhood, with a trampoline in the backyard and bikes in the driveway. A soccer ball sat on the front porch. David's Lexus was in the driveway. I sat in my car 3 houses down, my heart hammering. I told myself I might be wrong, that maybe he was just visiting a friend, that there was some explanation. But there was his car, at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, at the house of a woman with children who looked like him. I waited. An hour passed, the front door opened, and Emma came out with the 2 girls, loading them into a Honda minivan. School drop-off, probably. David came out behind them, wearing casual clothes, kissed Emma goodbye, a real kiss, not a friendly peck, and waved to the girls. After they drove off, he went back inside. He didn't leave. This wasn't a quick visit. He was comfortable there, at home. I drove back to Tempe with tears streaming down my face. My brother wasn't the man I thought he was, and Linda had no idea that her entire marriage was a lie. For 3 days, I agonized. I barely slept. Richard found me crying in the bathroom at 2 in the morning. "You have to tell her," he said gently. "You know you do. It'll destroy her. The truth always comes out eventually. Better she hears it from someone who loves her than from a stranger. Or worse, from him during some crisis." I thought about my own marriage, 38 years with Richard. If he'd been living a double life, I'd want to know. I'd hate the person who knew and didn't tell me. But David was my brother, my baby brother, even though he was 60 years old, the kid I'd protected from bullies, whose wedding I'd helped plan, whose sons I'd babysat. How could I be the one to blow up his life? Then I remembered Linda's words. "You've always been like a sister to me." I called her on Thursday afternoon. "Linda, can we meet for coffee? Just us?" We met at her favorite cafe in Scottsdale, the one with the patio overlooking the mountain preserve. She was already there when I arrived, smiling, waving from a table in the corner. "This is a nice surprise," she said as I sat down. "I wanted to thank you again for the party. It was perfect." I ordered a coffee I knew I wouldn't drink. My hands were trembling so badly I had to clasp them in my lap. "Linda, I need to tell you something, and you're going to hate me for it." Her smile faded. "What's wrong? Is it your mom?" "No, it's about David." I showed her everything. The text message screenshot I'd taken of my phone when I'd photographed his screen that night, the Facebook profile, the photos I'd managed to capture driving past Emma's house, showing David's car in the driveway. I watched the color drain from her face. Her hands started shaking so badly she spilled her latte across the table. She didn't even notice. "No," she whispered. "No. There has to be an explanation. Maybe she's a business partner. Maybe those girls have his nose, Linda." His smile. I saw him kiss her. I watched him act like he lived there. She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly. People turned to look. "You're lying. You're lying. David would never. We just celebrated 35 years. He loves me." "I know," I said, tears running down my face. "I know he does. But I think he loves her too. I'm so sorry." She ran. Just left me sitting there with coffee dripping onto the floor. I paid the bill with shaking hands and tried to call her, but she didn't answer. That night, David called me. His voice was ice cold, nothing like the warm brother I'd known. "What the hell did you do?" I told her the truth. "You destroyed my marriage. You had no right." "You destroyed your marriage," I shouted back. "You destroyed it the second you started a second family. How long, David? How long have you been lying to her?" Silence. Then, 12 years. 12 years. I felt sick. Emma and I met at a dealer conference. It just happened. I never meant the girls weren't planned, but I couldn't just abandon them. "So you abandoned Linda instead? You made her live a lie for 12 years? "I love them both," his voice cracked. "I love Linda. I love Emma. I love all my kids. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I was managing it, keeping everyone happy. You had no right to interfere." "Managing it?" "David, you were lying to everyone. Those girls don't even know they have stepbrothers. Linda doesn't know she's been sharing you with another family. You weren't managing anything. You were just hiding. You're my sister. You were supposed to have my back. I am your sister, which is why I can't watch you do this. And I'm Linda's friend. She deserved to know." He hung up. He didn't call back. Linda filed for divorce 3 weeks later. The fallout was nuclear. Their adult sons, my nephews, were devastated. One sided with Linda immediately. The other tried to maintain relationships with both parents and ended up angry at everyone, including me. The family split down the middle. Some relatives thought I should have minded my own business. "Marriages are complicated," my cousin said. "You don't know what arrangement they might have had." "They didn't have an arrangement," I snapped. Linda was blindsided. Mom, surprisingly, supported my decision. "I didn't raise my son to be a liar," she said firmly, though I could see the heartbreak in her eyes. "Patricia did the right thing, but doing the right thing didn't feel good." David stopped speaking to me entirely. At family gatherings he attended, which became rare, he wouldn't look at me. Christmas was split into 2 separate celebrations. The easy, warm family I'd known my whole life was fractured. Linda went through hell. The divorce was ugly. David fought over assets, claiming Emma and her daughters needed support too. It came out that he'd been funneling money to maintain 2 households, taking out secret loans. The successful car dealership had financial problems no one knew about because David was bleeding money keeping up 2 lives. Linda had to sell the house she loved, the one they'd bought when the boys were small. She moved into a condo and started working part-time at a boutique at 58 years old because her retirement fund had been depleted. I helped her move, packing up 35 years of memories. She cried over photo albums, asking me again and again, "How did I not know? How did I miss the signs?" "Because you trusted him," I said. "Because you loved him. That's not a weakness, Linda." But watching her break down in that empty house, I questioned everything. Had I done the right thing? Should I have talked to David first, Given him a chance to come clean himself? Should I have stayed out of it entirely? 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Emma at a Target in Phoenix. I recognized her immediately. She was with the younger daughter, helping her pick out school supplies. She recognized me too. I could see it in her eyes, the way they widened slightly. For a moment, we just stared at each other across the school supply aisle. "You're Patricia," she said finally. "David's sister." "Yes." The little girl, Lily, looked up at her mother with confusion. Emma put a hand on her shoulder. "You destroyed his life," Emma said quietly. "He lost his business. He lost his family. His sons won't speak to him, all because you couldn't mind your own business." "He destroyed his own life," I said, just as quietly, by lying to everyone who loved him. He was trying to do the right thing, to be there for everyone. There is no right way to lie to two families for 12 years. Those girls deserve better than a part-time father who's lying about his whole life. Linda deserved better than a husband who was lying every single day. Emma's eyes filled with tears. We needed him. Single mothers have it so hard, and he was good to us. He was married to someone else. She grabbed Lily's hand and walked away. I stood there shaking, holding a package of highlighters I didn't remember picking up. That night, Richard found me on our back patio, staring at the stars. "Still second-guessing yourself?" he asked, handing me a glass of wine. "Every day." "Linda called today. Did she tell you?" I shook my head. "She got a job at the community college, in their library. Better pay, benefits. She's joining a book club. She said she feels like herself again for the first time in years, even though it's hard." "That's good," I said softly. She thanked me for having a wife brave enough to tell her the truth. Said she spent 35 years not understanding why she always felt like something was slightly off, like David was never quite fully present. Now she knows why. I wiped away tears. "I lost my brother, Richard." "I know, honey. I know. A year has passed now. David lives in Flagstaff full-time with Emma and the girls. His car dealership went bankrupt, crushed by debt, and the scandal when the local news picked up the story of the man with 2 families. He works as a sales manager at someone else's lot now. His sons have slowly started rebuilding a relationship with him, though it's strained. The younger one brought his children to meet their half-sisters recently. It was awkward and painful, but it happened. David and I haven't spoken since that phone call. I see him occasionally at Mom's place. She made it clear she loves both her children and won't choose sides, but we don't make eye contact. The brother who taught me to ride a bike is gone. Maybe he was never really there at all, and I just didn't want to see it. Linda is doing better. Not great. 35 years doesn't just disappear, but better. She's dating someone, a retired teacher she met at her book club. She seems lighter somehow, like she's been carrying a weight she didn't know about, and finally set it down. She came to Thanksgiving at my house last month. David wasn't invited. That was my choice, and I stand by it. Linda and I made stuffing together, the way we have for 20 years, and she told me about her new job, her new life. "I don't regret the marriage," she said, chopping celery. "I got 2 wonderful sons. I had good years, even if they were built on a lie. But I'm grateful to know the truth. I'm grateful I get to spend whatever years I have left living honestly." "Even though it hurt?" I asked. "Especially because it hurt. The hurt means it mattered, and now I get to heal. I still wonder sometimes if I made the right choice. I lost my brother. I caused pain to people I love. The family I grew up in is fractured, maybe permanently. But when I see Linda laughing with her new partner, when I see her making plans for a future that's truly hers, when she hugs me and whispers thank you for loving me enough to tell me, I know I couldn't have done anything else." Some people think family loyalty means protecting each other's secrets, no matter the cost. But I think real loyalty means loving someone enough to tell them the truth, even when it destroys everything, even when it costs you the relationship, even when it makes you the villain in someone else's story. David will always be my brother. I'll always love the boy who held my hand on the first day of school, who danced with me at my wedding, who made me an aunt. But I couldn't let him keep destroying Linda. I couldn't be complicit in that lie. I heard through Mom that Emma is pregnant again. David's going to be a father at 61. I wonder if he's told his sons. I wonder how those girls will feel someday when they're old enough to understand that their father had a whole other life before them, a whole other family he abandoned. I hope he's learned something. I hope he's being honest now, at least. But I don't know. We don't talk. Last week, I got a letter. Not a text, not an email. An actual handwritten letter, forwarded from the address where Linda used to live. It was from David's oldest son, my nephew. Aunt Patricia, it read, I've been angry at you for a long time. I thought you broke up my parents' marriage, but I've been in therapy, and I'm starting to understand. You didn't break anything. It was already broken. Dad broke it. You just turned on the lights so we could all see the damage. I'm not ready to see you yet, but I wanted you to know. I don't blame you anymore. Thank you for respecting Mom enough to tell her the truth. Love, Jake. I cried for an hour after reading it. Richard held me on the couch. Not saying anything, just being there. I still don't know if I made the right choice. I don't know if there even was a right choice. But I know I made the only choice I could live with. I chose honesty over peace. I chose truth over comfort. I chose Linda's right to know over my brother's desire to hide. And I'd make the same choice again, even knowing what it would cost me. Because some things are more important than keeping the peace. Some truths are more important than family dinners and holiday traditions. I just wish the truth didn't hurt so much.